Welcome to another Monday, my friends. 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Hope you enjoyed your weekend with your family, holiday-ish as it was. Look, so on the quarantine interview circuit as it is, we are here now on the East Coast. We're talking to Tim DeJesus today. I've watched Tim for the last couple months on social media. I really like what he does. So I reached out to him for this interview, and it turns out we have a lot of parallels. And one of the things that really stood out to me about him is his no-nonsense attitude. The guy is very direct. He was very clear on where he stands on certain issues, and he's got some real cool thoughts about social selling. And he's going to give you an example of someone within his organization that he's worked with, that he's watched go from very little to something quite large, all based on social media, all organic, holistic approaches. So that's really what you should be looking for during these times. I realize they're not going to be easy on us, but it's where we can improve and make ourselves better. So grab a pen, sit back, and enjoy the episode. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Tonight is a little bit different. We're going to be going more than 10 minutes. I am joined by Tim DeJesus. Tim, how are you today, man?
What's up, brother? I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. So we've been doing these sort of, quarantine interviews, as it were, as everyone is, which is why Zoom is having its problems, I suppose. But the whole goal of it here, man, is to kind of get a regional perspective. And I'm really stoked to have you on, especially I follow you for a while. I really dig what you do. But B, and more importantly, you're in PA. So can you give the viewers a quick little snapshot of what the automotive industry during these times looks like in your state?
It is completely shut down. Outside of service, there is nothing going on. And I've gone so far as to call the governor's office and been told that, if people are being caught selling cars, they can lose their dealer license. It's at that level, which is great for human protection, but for the car business, it's a terrible thing. And who knows what happens at the end of this in PA. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And Tim, you said that in the pre-show that it's not even a first responder issue. This is a zero tolerance policy for selling a unit. If someone needed it to get to a hospital, if a doctor needed a new car to get to a hospital, you're telling me he could not obtain that car in PA.
That's what the governor's office told me. They said, auto repair is open, auto repair is deemed essential. Car sales is not essential. And, enough people have put in requests and been denied. So that's what it looks like in PA. It's ugly, man. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's wild. But let me ask you something. If I live in PA, does that mean I can't shop in New York if they're willing to cross border? I mean, it doesn't matter, right? From a consumer perspective, they'll just leave your state and your tax dollars to go find it elsewhere. Or will they get the tax dollars either way? Do you know?
No, I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, like if you bought a car in New York, PA would still get their tax dollars, but you didn't violate PA code. And it's really about the PA dealers, not the PA consumer. The PA consumer obviously is free to buy whatever they want. They're a human being.
Sure.
They'd be violating a stay-at-home order, but they're not under intense scrutiny like the dealers are. So, a PA customer can go to another state that can sell cars remotely, but yeah, as a whole, PA dealers cannot sell cars.
Got it. Man, that is super unfortunate. Tim, for those who don't know, can you give us the quick, 30,000 foot view of where your history comes from in the great car business, my friend?
Yeah, so I started in 05. I started in 05. And I climbed the ranks. So I started in sales, did it for 3 years, moved to F&I. Unlike a lot of your audience, did not hate F&I. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was fun.
Okay.
So,
so we went the first 3 guests. We went 2 that were heavy hate, like myself, the worst 9 months of my life. And Tim comes on, fan of the show, watches the show. Appreciate that, man. And so you're okay with it. How long were you in
it? 3 years in F&I.
Wow. Okay. You had to have liked it to stick around that long.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I mean, I was number 1 out of 23 in the organization. So, listen, the money was there and I didn't hate it. The hours sucked, of course, being the last one that leaves the dealership and everything. Yeah. But I was good at the job, so it was fun. Okay, cool. But yeah, then I did some outside sales. I worked for Credit Acceptance Corporation for 3 years. Went back into the car business as director of special finance with my education from CAC, and then worked my way up to GM and then operations manager. So I literally, any position in a dealership you can think of, I have worked. So it's been quite a ride, but I enjoyed every minute of it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So where obviously I know that you had a post online about not being at your current employer, given everything that's going on. I know you're a man of pivots. Where does that leave you today, my friend?
All right. So I have my own company, and It's called Dealer Masters LLC. It's a consulting and training company. So when things do reopen, I can share my knowledge with not just one dealer at a time, which is kind of my history. I bring up one dealer or one dealer group, and I'd make too much money, and they'd be like, "Yeah, it's time for you to go." So that was my history, and I kind of got tired of it. So I decided to, go on my own and do the same thing, but do it for multiple dealerships, not just to, work for one dealership until my time's up.
So what part of because obviously you have a passion for a major part of the training, obviously, that goes on at dealerships, otherwise you wouldn't want to start a company. What part of the process or things are you seeing right now, given the state of everything that's going on? Where do you see that you can be most helpful, or what do you see as the biggest problem, I guess, is more the point there with where people are today versus maybe where they could have been if they would have started something, say, 6 months ago, a year?
Right. That's a really great question. So what I'm seeing a lot of, and especially even at the last dealership I worked for, it was a struggle to get guys to buy into social media. And when I say guys, I mean really the salespeople. I had an experience with one of my former salespeople who I actually brought on as a director of social media, but he had an Instagram following. He had 20,000 followers. And when I tell you he took no floor traffic, he only took floor traffic for me if I forced him to take floor traffic. But he had his own following. He would get 3 to 5 appointments a day. He'd sell 15 to 20 cars every month off his Instagram like clockwork. And it was every single month religiously. So, what I brought him on to do with our people was to teach them the exact same thing. Look, all of our salespeople should be doing this. It shouldn't just be one guy who really rules the roost. Everybody should be doing this. And that's what we started doing at my last dealership. So that's one of the things that I see as a big hole in today's car dealership. Salespeople are still just bodies, which is kind of insane to me. I mean, you have all this technology at your disposal. You have all these great means to build a following. There's, 5 different social media platforms you can make a name for yourself on. And yet the guys still want to sit around and, play on Facebook or, shoot the shit and take cigarette breaks. Like, no, go build your brand, go make something of yourself. So I see that's a huge problem that I think I can definitely help solve in the car business.
And I think that's what's going to come out of this whole thing, and nothing else. I think there should be a shift in hours. I think you're going to realize you don't need 12 hours of operation or putting people through 12 and even 10-hour days to get accomplished what you need to get accomplished. I think that efficiencies will show through here. I think that's one of them. The salespeople who have that following are still existing, right? There's a young lady I follow who sells Hondas down in North Carolina on LinkedIn. And she's got a weakened immune system, and so she's stayed home. She's still on furlough. Her dealerships are open, and she's still selling cars. People are still, they're Facebooking her, they're messaging her, and she's just getting half deal after half deal, right? Because the stores are delivering. But still, here she is, even when she's told people, I will not be at work, do not come see me. People are like, cool, help me with everything else, and then get
right.
And that's what's amazing, dude. So this cat with the 15 to 20, I want to reverse back here. Are we talking age range, 20 to 25, 25 to 30? What are we talking about?
I mean, it was really the main clientele off his Instagram was probably between 20 and 30 years old.
But how old is he?
He's now 27.
Okay, so he's right in the middle of his own demo. So his own people that he was kind of selling to. Was there any cash infusion from you at the dealership level for anything?
No.
On that side, all him.
Nothing. All him. So, and it started, and the whole story behind it, when I met him, he was, I think, 23 years old, and he had about 4,000 followers at the time. And he was still selling, not to the point where, obviously, when he got up to 15, 20,000, it was really, like I said, it was just his own operation. But even when I met him, he would sell some dealership traffic, but he was bringing in, at least a person or two a day off his Instagram. So, and the Instagram leads, I mean, listen, the car business has been and always will be a numbers game. So, for him, it was just sales opportunities. And he got that at a very young age. He got that, okay, the more people I put in front of me, the more opportunities I have to sell cars, the more cars I'm going to sell. So, that was his gig. And I mean, it was very powerful. And I really learned a lot from that. And I think it's something that honestly, every salesperson at any dealership should be trying to generate traffic and income for themselves. Otherwise, they're replaceable. That's my opinion on it. Because honestly, again, if you're going to sell all dealership traffic, that puts a lot of strain on the dealership to spend advertising dollars. Versus if you're doing things that you're going to generate your own traffic and the dealership spending money, well, now you have a nice happy medium and the dealership's going to grow organically.
And that's really what I love about it. And, I listen to that part of it and I dial into some of the salespeople, and I'm sure you see it too. The salespeople that stand out I'm only on LinkedIn, okay? That's the only social media I know of. I don't do anything else. I don't know anything else. But on there, I can see sales professionals that are really dialed in, and I can only imagine if they're dialed in on LinkedIn, right? Place for old people, that they're really awesome elsewhere. And, and that's true of a lot of people. So do you think that, in your opinion, is that sort of the future of how you see dealerships set up? Are more mobile-bodied people sort of responsible for their own domain? Because I've always said that the best salespeople should be running their own business with none of the overhead capital expense. Like you shouldn't, my best salesmen, when they worked for me, dude, you sell 15, 20 cars a month. You want to do that by appointment only, work on your schedule? Good on you, babe. You got your own gig. I don't need you sitting in my dealership looking at people. Don't waste your time. Do whatever it is you're doing. Give me 15, 20 car deals. That makes you a net positive employee that takes nothing from me. I'm all about you. So is that how you see the future?
I mean, listen, I think, you're never going to fix the problem 100%, right? Sure. Nothing's 100%. Do I think that's a solution for most dealerships? Absolutely. I think that's how it should be. And realistically, I mean, you got to think about it, right? So he was 23 when he started, 27 now, right? I'm 37. I have a little bit of a following on LinkedIn, but there's plenty of 30 some odd year old salespeople. Why can't they do it? They can. They just don't. Yeah. So, for that regard, like I said, I think for me, that's one of the things that I really try to impart on dealers. Like, look, you can't just let your salespeople just show up. That's not okay. I didn't let any of my salespeople just show up. They all were responsible to make, at least 30 phone calls a day, keep up with their CRM. And, I had all of them trying to get either Instagram or Facebook or some kind of social media following, not just show up and sell the cars that I put in front of you, because anybody could do that. And especially with our management team had early manager intervention. So, it wasn't the salespeople that were really doing the heavy lifting. It was my closers. So I really could get anybody to do the job. Just don't screw it up.
I hate to say anybody, but when you have an efficient system, right, it's, you like me, probably not a fan of anything that's ever gone on out in New England for football, but it's about a process. It's about following and plugging people in. It doesn't matter. Now you'll see that'll obviously be put to the test now is how good of a process is it without a really pretty key entity. But either way, it's about process, and right. Technology needs to come second. You talk about 30 somethings, right? I just started on LinkedIn, I don't know, 3 years ago. And I don't make much of, a couple posts a week. I do my show on Mondays, which we're on now, and then I might do a Friday post here and there. So that's about it. Otherwise, I like to read and learn and see what other people are into. You're like the second most active guy in my feed, or the guy I see the most in my feed. I shouldn't say active. I should say that your content must just resonate with me. I must see it more than most. And there's another dude out in Bowling Green, Ohio. His name is Kenny. He is a salesman. The guy is like crazy. He's been walks like 5 miles a day for like the last 180 days in a row. Tracks the whole journey online. It's super cool. But my point is that activity, and this guy's not 30. He's older than that. Do you feel like there's an easy way for you to break down how to do this for someone who potentially is in their 30s or, later than that and maybe are set in their ways? Do you see a way to kind of approach this and make it where they get it, they tie the ends together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that honestly, I'll tell you this about me and what you're seeing. I just started this heavy January. I kind of when 2020 started, I made a commitment to myself. I said, you know what? I got to start doing things for me and stop hustling for dealerships. Because to be honest with you, my last dealership I was working at, I would be up at 3 a.m. looking at Google Analytics, putting emails together like I was just a lunatic. I have a very irregular sleep schedule, and I was committing 100% of my time to the dealership. And I looked at it and I said, what if I did this for myself? What would that look like? So that's when the LinkedIn thing started. Yeah. But, you know, from in January, I had 267 followers, somewhere in that neighborhood. I have 7,100 now. So, you know, to break it down on a simple level, number one, it's consistency. I post all the time. You see it. You know what I mean? I post all the time. And, you know, listen, I try not to be too far left. And what I mean is I try not to say anything that's so political that I'm going to get myself in trouble for. But I kind of also, hey, this is a good idea. Let me share it with everybody. Sure. And it's not really that hard. You know, it's just not overthinking it. So, you know, if you post every day, if people like what you're saying, if you're bringing value, and you're also actively engaging the community, you can build a following fairly quickly. It's not, you know, it's not that hard. But it does take work. It's consistency, like I said, and it's consistency is in any business or any platform or anything you do. If you have consistency, typically results will follow. So it's just a matter of consistency.
That I would totally agree with. I think it's mainly consistency. You know, that's why we set it up the way we did with this show. Is it's every Monday. We haven't missed a Monday in 150 freaking Mondays. I mean, we don't miss it. We don't go without it. We stay on the course because that's what we set out to do in the beginning. Was just make sure that the people, if they want to start their week with you, they could do that, and they could set their watches to it. And they always knew when it was going to happen. Because I'm not someone, because of how I run my business, like a lunatic, I am always doing things. So if I do not set up a specific schedule to do something to launch it, in my world, it will get lost under 10 other videos that I do for clients or flying here to me to do whatever it is, obviously. But now the business isn't about, right now it's not about growing your business. It's about growing your following. It's about keeping the people close to you. That's what salesmen can be doing during this time. If you knew you're going to be in sales after this is over, then the best thing you can be doing right now is engaging your community and doing everything you can to get the word out that, hey, when this is over, like I used to take offense when people that I knew in my neighborhood, even casually, came home with new stickers on their car that weren't from someone I knew. I'd be like, dude, what the and they'd be like, Sean, dude, my bad. You know, I just didn't think about it. It's like, no, you need to always be thinking about it. So I think salespeople today are, I'm so old, salespeople today are spoiled. And even in 05, even in 05, you didn't have the same tech you have today. Yeah. What are you carrying around? Are you carrying around a Palm Pilot? No, you're not. So this isn't 05 anymore. Tim, where have you seen, have we jumped the shark from technology uses to salespeople application? Like, are we just at the point where it's like, you can keep bringing me more tech, but I can't get these guys to use CRMs. Like that was like 4 tech swings ago. How do you deal with that?
So, I mean, for me, when I was at the dealership, I was kind of relentless with my salespeople, and I didn't go through salespeople. You know, pretty much the same sales staff I inherited was who was there, you know, and anybody who we lost was over something that was an act of pure stupidity, not because we weren't trying to nurture and coach them. Right. Sure. That being said, you know, I personally, when I was in the CRM, and I was in the CRM relentlessly, I just wouldn't let up on people. And they knew, like, they would get annoyed eventually. Like, dude, like, back off. I'm like, no, I'm not backing off. This is your job. Yeah. If you can't do this simple task, then I'm sorry. They will come to the point where I may have to replace you. That typically does get the message across. Like, all right, fine, that's fair. Right? I'm like, dude, I'm not asking a ton of you. I'm asking you to update your tasks. It tells you as soon as you log in, this is what you need to do today. Just fucking do it. That's it. I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do because I'm in the CRM just like you, as you can see.
I'm not even asking you to do anything above and beyond. I'm just asking you to do what the fucking CRM says. I haven't even said you should be doing far more than what's in there, but let's just keep it at the ground level. Dude, I used to fine people for not using the CRM. You know, that doesn't last very long. Yeah. You know, you all of a sudden someone comes back and they have 10 overdue tasks at $25 a crack. They get a bill on their desk that's $250. You owe Sean. People come flying in my office. What's this? I'm like, you left 10 tasks undone yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, why is that? you didn't sell any cars, bro. You owe me $250. You have any idea what it cost me to put 10 leads on your desk?
Right.
You have any idea? It's at let's just call it $40 a lead, and that's being generous because that's not really a thing. Okay, now $400. So you're getting off light. So
right.
Yeah, sometimes you got to break it all the way down. But it sounds like you've always had an owner mentality when looking at your dealerships. Is that fair to say about your approach?
Oh, it's absolutely fair to say. I mean, like I said, unfortunately, I just can't do anything half-assed. So I would be all the way invested, whether I liked it or not. You know what I mean? It's just kind of the mental makeup, unfortunately. And it was unfortunate at times because, like I said, when you get to the point when you've built somebody's dealership up, when you spent 2 years there and you've made their processes, you've mastered their processes, and then they're like, you're making too much money, man, that actually really hurts emotionally. It really does.
Yeah. Dude.
So like for me, yeah. And the thing is, like, one of the dealers was literally, I was making him $500,000 a month in the subprime department. He told me I was making too much money. I'm like, you're making $6 million a year out of my department. $6 million a year.
Unless you're paying me $5, then I'm not
Which
sure
I
I
was
see
not,
the math
right.
here, dude. I'm not sure I see the math.
Yeah. So it was just, it's just stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, I had an owner's mentality. And going back to the question just about, the technology skip. I mean, it's difficult in today's world, but really on the GMs and owners, you just have to have that accountability piece. And again, it goes back to consistency. If you're consistent in your accountability, and even if you have a 20-car guy, but he's not getting the job done, you're holding him accountable. Everybody sees that. So it's very easy when you have the 12-car guy who's not doing his job. If he sees you holding the 20-car guy accountable, then he's kind of like, all right, fine. Like, you're not playing favorites here, which I didn't. I was just like, look, dude, I get you sell 20 cars, but I can't have you with 1,000 overdue tasks. And this guy, I'm breathing down his neck, and I appreciate it. But I'm like, if you're selling 35 cars, I'll have a little more leniency. But you got time.
No, I got to such a point that I sanitize my relationship mentally with my salespeople and just view them as the first letter of their first name, so that when I was looking at them on the board, I was saying to myself, look, I don't care how many cars F has. Has F done his work today? Yes, then F is good by me. Because if I start looking at the number of cars and I'm like, dude sells 20, man. Give him a break. Like, no, don't give him a break. Put him on notice, because if you do that and you sort of, the owner I worked for, he one time in the first week I worked for him, he made what I refer to as a public execution in the middle of a meeting. Just didn't like the answer someone gave, and he's like, yeah, you're fucking fired. Get out. And it was just like, okay, I just started working here. I'm not sure this was a good idea. But the point was, he didn't want you trying to fill him with bullshit.
Yeah.
He wanted you to be, even if the answer was, I fucked up, this deal's fucked, we're not going to sell as many cars. Okay, well, next time don't do that. That was kind of his mentality. But if you made up some bullshit excuse and he caught it that way, he'd ace you, dude. So you got to, the way that you approached it, that seems like a lot more than my guy, doing the public execution. Your approach is more, hey guys, I'm going to stay on you because A, I've done it, and B, I'll do it with you because it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think that's an important part of leadership. As much as I don't hate the word. That's too strong of a word. I'm so tired of hearing it. That's all I'm hearing recently is everyone's leadership skills. And dude, I run a company of 3 people. All 3 people are partners. So I don't leadership shit. And because that's just, I'm not a leader in that way. I'm not really, like I just said, I sanitize people down to their first letter of their name. I'm not really your, go together. I'm more of a data. I let data tell me the story instead of people, because they have emotions and everything else. But let me ask you something. When you look at how you're going to take today's salespeople, do you see there being pushback between you and the desk? Like that always becomes my issue, right? Is we can tell salespeople all these great ideas, then they go to do it, and then here at the desk, shit gets stopped. Even if up here the GM might be into the idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you think we bridge that?
So that's honestly, that's a super great question. So for us, and this is a question that really kind of touches my heart, because that's exactly what I dealt with. Like the last dealership I came into, they had been doing things a certain way for years. So when I came in, I mean, it was a culture shock like no other, because there was zero accountability. There was tons of finger pointing. And, really all the sales managers kind of hated me because I'm like, dude, I'm not going to let you get away with this. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Yeah.
But after being, again, it goes back to that consistency piece. After being consistent, after a while, they kind of were like, all right, I see where this is going. So then they bought in. So when I went to the salespeople, first of all, it wasn't a skip from me to the salespeople, and I completely disregarded the managers. The managers knew, and the managers were also held accountable for it. So I would say to them, guys, you guys should be talking to them about this. It shouldn't be me delivering this message. This is your store. I don't want to be involved. Like, when I had 3 stores I was running at the dealership. So I'm like, look, this is your store. The more you do and the better you do, the less you see me, right? If your store is responsible for selling 50 cars and you're selling 50 cars, I'm out. You won't see or hear from me, right? This is not a problem store for me.
Correct.
But I'm like, you guys need to do this. So they kind of understood. That's where you bridge the gap. Like, I kept the managers abreast to what was going on. I'm like, look, this is what needs to happen. I'm going to talk to the salespeople about it. I'm going to have Justin come here and help them. Justin was the social media guy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm going to have Justin come here and help them. But ultimately, you guys got to stay on top of them. Even if you're not on social media, I get it. That's fine. You guys have other things you need to worry about, and that's cool. But you need to also keep these guys on track and just keep the message consistent. So that's where, we didn't really have that issue of, salespeople trying to implement it and getting that pushback because the managers were already bought in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took a lot to get to that point. It took a lot of like, dude, you're not going to get past me on this one. So you can bitch all you want, but the message ain't changing. It took a lot of that. It was 3 straight months of like, look, this is how it's going to be. And I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear just because you want to hear it and it makes you feel good. No, I know this is right. So sorry if you don't like it, but this is right. And this is how we're going to do things. And it was a lot of...
But that's also because, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think that's also because you had buy-in of the people above you so that there was nowhere for anyone to run. So I don't want to overstate that.
Yes.
But as far as consistency and buy-in goes, if it doesn't happen at the very, very top of the peak, whoever is making the decision to have you at their dealership, hired you, etc., which I'm sure when you got hired was part of your, hey, man, you're going to hire me. Here's A, B, and C of what's required, what I'm going to need to do the job autonomously, etc., whatever. Right. So is that, I assume that's what you had, right? You had ultimate buy-in from ownership.
Yes. I mean, look, the thing about, and this is my experience, and you might be experiencing this too in your role. The thing is, a lot of owners don't know what they don't know. So, like what happens is, like for me, having worked every single position at a dealership, you can't bullshit me on something. You know what I mean? Because I've done a salesperson's job. I've done an F&I manager's job. I've done a finance manager's job. I've done a subprime manager's job. So you can't bullshit me on stuff.
Right.
So, when you go to an owner, you're exactly right. I said, like, look, I know what I know. I have a plan. I'm going to execute my plan, but you need to back me up. If not, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I was at Credit Acceptance at the time. I was perfectly cool. Like, I was making 6 figures being an outside sales rep, having all the free time I wanted. You know what I mean? So I was like, look, I was like, look, I don't need to.
In regards to that, not an easy job, as you and I talked about. Anything corporatized probably is a little bit more difficult for us to fit into.
Yes.
And so that really wasn't the role. But on your end, it was like, hey, dude, why not, have a good gig, get paid. Again, I had the same thing in corporate America. 6 figures, outside sales, which means no one really knows you exist unless there's some sort of company meeting.
Right.
We call. Other than that, you have to keep your log tight and keep your dealers happy, and that was it. So It's a mail-in job, but it wasn't. My corporate job didn't excite me. I didn't wake up and was like, dude, let's go. It was just because I had to convey someone else's message ultimately. And when you don't 100% agree, right? It's like you walk into a room and you're like, so how do I explain to people the right thing to do while endorsing the company, which I'm sure you ran into on your own as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, you and I are very much on the same page about that. Corporate America just didn't excite me. And I was a top gun at CAC. Like I was number 1 in my district. Like I hit the zenith, if you would call it that. But it's exactly what you just said. It's not exciting. I don't know. It's just something about it. It's like, the whole hey, I got to be somebody who I'm really not approach just doesn't work. So, unfortunately, going back to a dealership, people looked at me like I was insane when I was like, oh, I'm going back to the dealerships. But I'm like, no, but like, this is actually something fun. Like, this is a challenge, and this is something that's going to, it's satisfying when you take something from, 50 to 150. That feels good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I do. And especially when that means there's something in it for you. One of the things I never liked about my corporate role was there's nothing in it. It's a salary job, with a bonus that's that of, less than sales tax, for Christ's sake. So, I mean, it really wasn't enough to really get me out of bed. And I mean, I like the idea of a team, I suppose. That's one of the things I miss about the dealership was just the camaraderie of people every day, getting to know people, understanding their personal lives, etc. As much as I can without getting too far into it, right? Trying to keep that business relationship. But I still invest in people whenever I'm involved. So it was hard to invest when you were just not 100% in, which again, is what we're talking about on the training side. And I think a lot of dealerships struggle with that. And when we started Car Biz, one of the reasons we pivoted out of training into data was because it was like, dude, this is a lot. But for you, you're looking at it more of an opportunity for you, an individual human being, to help multiple dealerships. This isn't something where I don't get from you that you're trying to be the next big trainer on the block. This is you trying to make a living while assisting people. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I mean, for me, I'm not looking at it like, hey, I'm Joe Verdi, right? Or any of those guys, right? No, that's not what it is. I mean, for me, what I see, Joe Verdi is Joe Verdi, and whoever else you want to say in the car business space that does training, right? They're excellent. They're nationwide. They do a great job. More power to them. That's not me, right? What I see myself as is I can train your salespeople some things that Joe Verdi's not teaching you, because Joe Verdi's not teaching you about social media and how to build a brand, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that it could be, but I mean, I've seen it recently, and that wasn't the training anyway.
Sure.
So, but like I can teach that piece of it. But the other thing is, again, it goes back to what we talked about. Owners don't know what they don't know, and there's so many holes. If you look at a dealership from a holistic perspective, and you look at every single department, there's very, 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 very few dealers that from top to bottom execute at every single level. And I know a few off the top of my head that do an amazing job, and they are like, if you're looking at every single level, they're probably 90% there, and they're wildly profitable. But if you look at the vast majority of dealers, if you took from top to bottom every single department, sales, service, parts, BDC, special finance, whatever you want to call it, they're not executing at every single level. So, that's where I see our company fitting in, is just, look, where are your holes? Let me help you with the holes. You're missing out in this profit center, this profit center, this profit center. Let me help you in these departments, make you more profitable if you're not already profitable. Or, even if you are really profitable, I can still help a dealer who's really profitable. If they don't have a special finance department, which I'm going to say out loud to every dealer that's watching, if you are not in a subprime game in some fashion, especially with what's about to happen, and you and I, Sean, lived through 08.
Yes.
If you're not in a subprime game right now, God bless you. Because this, in 08, that's how we survived and thrived. When I was in the car business in 08, everybody who had a 700 credit score now had a 500 credit score. So you had to be able to navigate that. And there's so many dealerships that don't know or try subprime, and that's a huge hole in your game. And there's nothing wrong with subprime customers. People have this stigma about subprime, and they're just people. And again, if you look at 08, a lot of the 500s were 700s 2 months ago until they lost a $100,000 job that they couldn't replace.
Right.
So you're judging this person who a couple months ago was a 700, and they're not a bad person. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, they were caught in what millions of people were caught in. It's not the stigma may have. I mean, again, I have a friend of mine who is on unemployment for the first time in his life, and I talked to him about it. And he had this like I could sense this sort of stigma from him. I'm like, hey, bro, real quick on this. You and 5 million other people. Like this isn't a you thing. This had nothing to do with your job. You not being good enough at your job. In '08, it was about decisions that were made well before that impacted the financial future of all of us, dude. I was in dealerships after 9/11. Again, different in what it was. Unfortunately, this current thing is like 9/11 and '08 mixed into this nasty little
it's messed up.
In that way, but it's a lot about survival. So I think I'm going to wrap this up with you because I know you've given me enough of your time. I appreciate it. When you look at this whole thing, you talk about holes and consistency. Those are the two things that kind of stick out to me, and you talk about them that way. And I don't think anyone's 100%. I think that's difficult. I think 90 is, if you're at 90, you're doing a pretty badass job, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you said you want dealers to hear about Special 5, but right now in this specific time in a state, unfortunately not in your state, but if you were in a state where you could sell cars, what do you think dealers need to hear the most right now?
All right. Two things. We touched on the first, which is subprime. If you weren't doing subprime before, you need to prepare to do subprime because unemployment is not going to pay somebody who is just making $150. They're not going to get anywhere close to their salary level. And if they were living above their means, which a lot of people are, they're going to be a 500 soon enough. Now, they're going to rebound pretty quickly to a 650 or something like that once they get caught up. But the bank is still going to look at them differently. So you got to be prepared for that. So don't discount subprime and don't turn your nose up at it. That's just silly behavior. I'm just telling everybody who's watching. The other thing is what this has taught everybody, me included. And, I know there's ways to do it. And I know you've talked many times about how to deliver cars to people's houses and things like that. But people now going forward, and I think you and Dustin talked about it a lot. People need to start looking at how to sell cars remotely, period. That's what needs to happen. And if you weren't doing it before and you turned up your nose at it, okay, stop. Time's up. It's time to look at that. Because, again, the way I see it in PA, dealers can still talk to people, set everything up. Even if we can't sell cars, you can walk into whenever things reopen, you can have the floodgates open for you if you're trying to sell cars remotely. We could do the same thing we're doing right now with the customer, a Zoom call. Hey, this is what it is.
This could be your car in the background. I mean, it's nonsense to think that you wouldn't take advantage of that opportunity right now to do it. And I want to point out something because it's an important word that you use, and I want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. You use the word remotely. Mm-hmm. You didn't use the word digital retail. You didn't use the word some fucking widget A. What you said was remotely. Is that what you meant? Was any ways possible? Phone, Zoom, you don't care. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, you can do the Carvana method. That's fine if you want to go that route. That's okay. Like some people will do that, right? And for everybody else who won't do that, you can have a conversation. What is the difference between sitting across the table from someone at the dealership or what we're doing right now? There really is no difference. You're seeing my face, you're hearing my voice, right?
Yeah. Cocktails and then I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
We're sitting here having a regular conversation like people. You can do that at a dealership. But you as owners, GMs, whoever you are, have to be okay with that and adapt the strategy. Like,
you have to be. And especially my friends in Canada. I say that only because I spoke up there in September at a Game Changer event with Jason Harris, and I asked the whole audience, how many of you would sell a car over the phone? And not one person raised their hand. And I thought to myself, why are we talking about digital retailing? You're going to let someone desk their own deal on your website?
Right.
My guess is no, if you're not willing to walk them through a desk deal on the phone. This idea, and I'm hoping it goes away, dude. Presence is leverage bullshit. Get rid of it. Get rid of all these old school word tracks. Just like you got rid of throwing keys up on roofs from the 70s. This is the key moment of now. Quit telling people they got to be there to get the best deal. They called you for a reason. You have something they want. Fucking treat them that way so you can make it easier for everyone. That's what I want people to hear.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, you're so spot on that. And, realistically, I think, first of all, and I pray for all the dealers out there, some dealers are not going to make it through this the longer it goes, unfortunately. Some are not going to be well capitalized enough. I pray for those guys and I wish them the best. For anybody who's left, when the dust settles, if you think you're going to do things exactly the same, that's just straight up foolish, number one.
Might as well get out now.
Yeah. And number two, like, I've said this on my LinkedIn and, so many other people have said it. Look, this is the time to evaluate. We're all home. This is the time to evaluate, to look and say, what can I do better? What can I do differently? If you're just going to go back and do exactly the same thing, yes, you might be successful in some regard. The thing you have to kind of weigh in, there's 6 million unemployed people right now. And how many businesses are going to close? How many small businesses are going to close? So to think you're going to do things exactly the same and have exactly the same clientele and have the same results would be so asinine. And, again, I'm not at a dealership, so I can speak from a place of truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah. That's really the situation we're all in. And if you think otherwise, you're fooling yourself. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. So you gotta be able to learn to sell cars remotely. Use the word remotely, I mean it. Right. You have to learn to sell cars remotely, change the customer experience, and, appreciate what just happened for what it is. Hey, it's an opportunity to look at what the hell we were doing before and maybe evaluate and say, maybe we could do things differently and better. And if we do things better and smarter, you honestly could have less salespeople because they're going to do things smarter and not, you don't have to flood your floor because you have people working efficiently.
I said it to you earlier. It's going to be all about business efficiencies when we come out of this. Tim, man, thank you so much, dude, for joining me, putting aside your time later in the evening on the East Coast. I do truly appreciate it, my friend. Cheers to you and to all that you're doing. I really, really, again, appreciate your time. Guys, if you know where to find the podcast, anywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. If you don't, call me and I'll make sure we put it on there. Thank you guys so much. Have yourselves a wonderful day and stay safe, my friends.